on this computer. All right, so I'd like to welcome Shelby Adler from the Wisconsin DNR. I work closely with her as she is the aquatic invasive species specialist for our region. So when I'm verifying populations, I work with her to get those up in the database. She's a great resource for she's very knowledgeable about plants and animals that live in the water, as well as techniques for getting out there. She does a lot of inspection herself, as well as being a liaison between other partners and the DNR. And she's going to lead us through our training today. So Shelby, thanks for joining us today, and take it away.
All right, thanks, Matt. So let's get started. Can everybody see the screen good? Can you see it good, Matt?
I can see it, yep.
Great, okay. So welcome to Clean Boats, Clean Waters training. I'm gonna get started off just with a little bit of information about the Wisconsin Lakes Partnership Programs. Wisconsin Aquatic Invasive Species Programs, which includes Clean Boats, Clean Water, are supported by the Wisconsin Lakes Partnership. The partnership began with the three groups you can see on the screen here: the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, the University of Wisconsin Extension, and Wisconsin Lakes, which represents our citizens who advocate for legislation that's good for lakes. This partnership has expanded vastly beyond these three original groups and now includes counties, UWC grant, nonprofit groups, tribal entities, and other universities. So, oh, what just happened? Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
No worries.
Okay, so today we're going to start with some background information about aquatic invasive species and some species specific to the South Central region of the state. And then we'll give a quick overview of the Clean Boats, Clean Waters program, your duties as a Clean Boats, Clean Waters boat inspector, and scenarios you may encounter at the boat landing, and how things will look a little different this year due to COVID-19. When you look at how many miles of water we have in this state, you realize that Wisconsin is truly a gathering of waters. The numbers to focus on here are the numbers of lakes and numbers of boats. There's an estimated 1 million boaters on Wisconsin's waters each year. So, welcome to the challenge. All these boaters, there's a lot of opportunity for aquatic invasive species to spread in our state. So just a brief overview to start. Many of you are probably already familiar with what an invasive species is and the problems they cause, but I just want to give a little introduction to make sure we're all on the same page. So an aquatic invasive species is a non-native aquatic plant, animal, or pathogen that may cause economic, environmental, or recreational harm, and in some cases even affect human health. And these species are invasive because generally they have no natural predators in these new habitats they're invading. Native species can't hide from them, compete well, or fight back. And invasive species are often very aggressive, prolific, and tend to mature early, allowing them to reproduce earlier than our native species, and many times they reproduce much more quickly than our native species as well, which allows invasive populations to kind of explode. So how did they get here? A lot of our invasive species, especially in Wisconsin, have gotten here through shipping. We're right next door to the Great Lakes. There's lots of ships going in and out, and those ships are collecting ballast waters when they start their journeys in places like Europe or Asia, and they sometimes release that water when they get over here into the Great Lakes, and that's also releasing those invasive animal and plant species. Some invasive species have gotten here through intentional introduction, like stocking of sport species or stocking of species to try to help solve another problem. Like Asian carp initially were stocked in the southern United States as a way to help control aquatic weeds and plants in ponds. Invasive species have also gotten to North America through the digging of canals and moving in from the ocean, the nursery or gardening industry, anglers in the bait industry, also aquaculture, and accidental releases from the aquarium trade. Once they're here, how do they spread? A lot of invasive species spread through boaters, anglers, other water users such as scuba divers, seaplanes, even waterfowl hunters. There's accidental and sometimes intentional releases from water gardens and aquarium owners, and sometimes just natural dispersal by wind or other animals moving species around. So why do we care if these species make their way to Wisconsin's waters? There can be a lot of economic impacts with this. Tourism in Wisconsin is a really big industry, and having an invasive species in a water body can affect that tourism. It can affect sport and commercial fishing, and water users and property owners on a water body. There's also detrimental ecological impacts to our native fish, invertebrate, and plant species. There's also recreational impacts to boating and angling. Large amounts of dense invasive plants in the water can make it really difficult to boat, angle, and sometimes even swim in a water body. So now I'm just going to go through a couple of aquatic invasive species that may be common in the southern region of Wisconsin or that we're concerned about spreading further into the southern region of Wisconsin. The first is curly-leaf pondweed. This species was introduced through ballast water, aquarium dumping, and possibly common carp stocking programs. Something interesting about this plant is it actually starts growing under the ice on a lake. It grows typically from October to June, and when large amounts of this plant die off in June, it releases a large amount of nutrients into the water, and that can contribute to harmful algal blooms. It spreads by rhizomes and turions. In that bottom picture there, you can see a turion. It's basically a miniature plant that will break off from an adult curly-leaf pondweed, and then in October, a new plant will sprout from that. Curly-leaf pondweed is pretty widespread in Wisconsin. There's 781 water bodies documented to have curly-leaf pondweed in them in Wisconsin, and it's fairly widespread throughout the southern region of Wisconsin. Next, we have another plant, Eurasian water milfoil. Eurasian water milfoil was first found in the state in the 1960s. This plant tends to grow pretty aggressively and forms dense mats that interferes with water recreation. It's really great at wrapping itself around your boat motors and making it difficult to boat across the water. And when it gets established and there's a large population, it's nearly impossible to eradicate from a water body. This plant can also spread from very small fragments. A fragment of Eurasian water milfoil that's only about 1 centimeter long can sprout roots and start a whole new population of the plant in a new water body. This plant is also pretty widespread across Wisconsin. It's documented in 847 Wisconsin water bodies, and it's widespread throughout the south region of Wisconsin. Next, we have starry stonewort. This looks like an aquatic plant, but it's actually an algae. It's what we call a macroalgae. It's about 3 to 6 millimeters wide, and it gets its name from its star-shaped bulbil. It's a starchy little, basically a root. I think of it kind of as a potato, but nothing in Wisconsin that is native is going to have that star-shaped bulbil on it. And it was most likely introduced into the Great Lakes by ballast water. Star stonewort has only been documented in 22 water bodies in Wisconsin. It's pretty well concentrated in the southeastern region of the state right now. It's not in the south central, so we are trying to keep it contained and not let it spread further. Moving on to some aquatic invasive animals, we have the Asian clam, which is native to China, Korea, and southeastern Russia. This was also likely introduced in ballast water, but also potentially as food import. These animals are microscopic in their early life stages, so they can easily hide themselves in water without you knowing it. They also self-fertilize, and in large numbers, they can clog water intake pipes and displace our native clam species. This is another species that isn't documented in very many water bodies in Wisconsin, only 30. It's concentrated mostly in the southeastern region of the state, but this past summer in 2019, it was discovered in 3 new locations in the south central region of the state. Was 2 little ponds and a creek right next to them in Janesville. Next, we have the zooplankton spiny water flea. This is another ballast water introduction into the Great Lakes in the 1980s. This species eats our native zooplankton, and they also can be harmful to our native fish. They've got this long spine on them, which makes it very difficult for our native fish to eat them, and those spines can get stuck in the gullet of the fish and cause a lot of harm. They also are really good at fouling up fishing gear and forming big gummy clumps on our fishing line. This has been documented in 19 inland lakes and streams. It's in a few counties way up in northern Wisconsin, and then it's also in the Madison chain of lakes here in Dane County. Also have zebra mussels. This is a ballast water introduction into the Great Lakes in the 1980s. And these will attach to any firm surface and may reach 10 of thousands per square meter. This is another species that's microscopic at an early life stage and really easy to hide in water without knowing it. Each female of this species can produce up to 1 million eggs per season, so they can expand their population pretty rapidly. Zebra mussels have been documented in 252 water bodies in Wisconsin, and it's mostly concentrated here in our southern region. We also are on the lookout for quagga mussels. Currently, these are only found in the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River, not our inland rivers, streams, and lakes. This is another ballast water introduction. And this species can survive in a wide range of temperature and oxygen levels. They don't require the same hard substrate to attach to that a zebra mussel does. They can actually live directly on mud or sand, and they can survive at depths greater than 100 feet. Quagga and zebra mussels can look pretty similar to each other. A few things to remember about the quagga mussel is it has rounder sides than the zebra mussel. And the bottom side of a quagga mussel's shell is curved or rounded, so you couldn't set them up on their side on a tabletop. With a zebra mussel, they've got a really flat bottom, and you could set them upright on a table if you wanted to. And like I said, quaggas thrive at a much greater depths and at cooler temperatures than zebra mussels. They don't need that hard surface to attach to. They are distributed in many similar ways to zebra mussels, and there's evidence in the Great Lakes that quagga mussels, due to not needing that hard surface and being able to thrive at greater depths, they're actually outcompeting zebra mussels for habitat now. And we also have New Zealand mud snails. These are very tiny guys. You can see them here on a dime. They're 4 to 6 millimeters long as adults. They have a right-sided shell opening. Many of our native snail species have a left-sided opening. So that's a good indication that if you see these, it might be a New Zealand mud snail if it's got that right side opening. They can also live out of water for over 26 days. And all the New Zealand mud snails that have been found in the United States are females. They reproduce by cloning. So New Zealand mud snails are not widespread in Wisconsin. They have only been found in 8 total water bodies. And a majority of these water bodies are trout fishing streams. And unfortunately, 7 of those 8 water bodies are in the south central region of the state. So we're really trying to be on the lookout for this species and letting people know all about them so we can help contain them and not let them spread further throughout Wisconsin. All right, so we can move on now from some of those species to Wisconsin's Aquatic Invasive Species Program. The goals of the Wisconsin Invasive Species Program is to focus on containment, increase awareness and responsible behaviors for Wisconsin citizens, and strengthen partnerships. The Aquatic Invasive Species Program has a lot of different elements to it. We've got education and outreach, watercraft inspection, which is clean boats, clean waters, citizen lake monitoring, purple loosestrife biocontrol, aquatic invasive species grants, research, and we also have rules mandated by law to help prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species. So why watercraft inspection? It's been shown that watercraft inspections are very effective in helping not only protect lakes that do not have aquatic invasive species, but also contain aquatic invasive species in one lake and preventing that spread to other water bodies. So we've got all these different invasive species concerns in Wisconsin, but they can really be handled with the same prevention methods. In Wisconsin, we have the NR 40 law. This law classifies aquatic invasive species. It also regulates the transportation, possession, transfer, and introduction of these species. And it also establishes the preventative measures that citizens in Wisconsin are required to take. So those prevention measures are inspect, remove, drain, and never move. We also have live bait regulations in Wisconsin. all water must be drained from boats and equipment before leaving Wisconsin waters. And you can take leftover minnows away from any state water and use them again on that same body of water or on other waters, but only if no lake or river water or other fish were added to that container. You also may not transport any live fish or fish eggs away from any Wisconsin state waters. So that was a lot of information I just threw at everyone, a lot about invasive species that we have and our program in Wisconsin. But the main thing as a Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspector that you need to know is that inspectors do make a difference. It's been shown that we can and we are making a difference with these efforts to protect Wisconsin lakes, and we are preventing the spread of some aquatic invasive species. So the story of how Clean Boats, Clean Waters began, I think, is a pretty cool one. In 2003, some students in the Minocqua area noticed a plant growing on the surface of a nearby lake. They decided they wanted to find out what this plant was and where it had come from. They did some research and found out it was Eurasian water milfoil, and they learned how it's generally spread. And this motivated them to share information with others so that other lakes in the area could be protected from Eurasian water milfoil. They pinpointed boat landings as the prime place to share their message with people. And they called themselves the Milfoil Masters. They prepared boxes with brochures and handouts about aquatic invasive species and what we can do to prevent the spread to have on hand to give to boaters at boat landings. And their efforts attracted area lake group members and were really popular among the boaters. And in 2004, the state of Wisconsin adopted their program and renamed it Clean Boats, Clean Waters. So the goal of Clean Boats, Clean Waters is to train volunteers, citizens, DNR and county staff to conduct boater education campaigns in their communities. And since 2004, over 2,500 Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspectors have been trained. And the inspectors come from a wide variety of groups. We have citizen volunteers, DNR and county staff, student interns. We also have Department of Workforce Development, young adults. So to get started, what are your duties as a Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspector? Your duties are to inform and educate boaters, perform watercraft inspections, and collect and report watercraft data. Some of the basic materials you'll need are listed here. I'll point out a few. We have Clean Boats, Clean Waters t-shirts and stickers and aprons you can have on hand, clipboard and pencil, a plastic bag and markers in case you ever come across an invasive species while you're out at the boat landing, a cell phone and local contacts, and a camera in case you ever see a violation at a boat landing. So the boat landing message you're going to give as a Clean Boats, Clean Waters watercraft inspection is the same as those preventative measures laid out by Wisconsin law. Inspect, remove, drain, never move, and also buy, which takes care of our bait laws. So inspect is you're going to inspect boats, trailers, any other equipment that comes into contact with water. Remove all attached aquatic plants and animals. Drain all water from boats, vehicles, and other equipment. and never move plants or live fish away from a water body. And buy minnows from a Wisconsin bait dealer and only use those leftover minnows under certain conditions. So for boat landing message, you're going to discuss those aquatic invasive species preventative actions. You'll also perform a watercraft inspection. You'll also offer stop aquatic hitchhiker stickers, pamphlets. Those stickers are great because they serve as a reminder to our boaters of the preventative steps. So now we'll move on to watercraft inspection. First thing to know is the watercraft checkpoints. On the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website, we have a handout that you can print out that has this graphic here as well as a checkpoint. And that can be used while you're doing your watercraft inspections as a reminder to yourself of the key places to check when you're conducting a watercraft inspection. Some of those places are going to be the hitch, rollers or bunkers on a boat trailer, the axle of the trailer, the boat motor, the transom well, a live well if they have it, any other containers or coolers that someone may have on their boat as well that are holding water. All right, and next we are going to, hopefully this will work, watch a little video that just walks you through the key places to look at when you're conducting a boat inspection.
That looks good on our end so far, so thanks for that.
Great. So I hope with internet speeds these videos work out for everybody. If they're a little blurry on your end, I apologize. Bear with us. We'll tell you where you can also find these videos on your own later if you'd like to look at more.
So basically what we're looking at here now is anytime you go out on the water with your watercraft, boat, trailer, anything like that, jet ski, you're just going to when you come off the water, you just want to take that moment before you leave the landing to go around the entire boat, look for any aquatic plants, mud, or animals that are attached to the trailer and equipment, and then take the time to drain any water out of the boat. So we're going to do that right now. So all I'm doing is just taking that moment again. Go underneath. Do I have any aquatic plants attached to anything? Anything on the trailer? Anything underneath? Important at this point is also look across, because sometimes there's things that you can't see from this side, but you can see them when you look all the way under. There are some plants. We'll get them when we go around. We're just going to continue back around the trailer now. I've got some more attached here. We're making sure we take all this stuff off because there could be animals attached to these plants. There could be plants that just aren't in other lakes. Taking it off your motor. And now I'm going to tilt my motor down because a lot of times there's water inside of here as well. Not a lot of water, but bigger engines will have more water. Now I'll continue around here. And you can see I've got my plug under here as well. Well, I just want to make sure we take that plug out.
Well, I think we got cut short there. But I think we can just keep moving. He just goes around the other side of the boat and takes off plants as well. So we'll move on here to the next slide. So this right here is another handout you can find on the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website. And this is just another tool for you as a boat landing inspector. It goes through the prompts to help you in your inspection, and the things you want to remember to check on the boat and the boat trailer, as well as talk to the boaters about. So it goes through that inspect and remove, drain boat and equipment, and drain live wells and containers holding water and catch. It also has that live bait message on there for you. Like I said, this is a resource for you, the inspector. It's just a nice little reminder. You also saw in there was some lines to write additional information on there. So if you're aware of any local concerns that pertain, to that, just the area you're in or that specific water body that you want to make sure you address and talk to boaters about, you can write that down for yourself so you can reference that. It's a diagram layout, so hopefully it's pretty simple and easy to read for everyone. And it's just has that quick visual reminder for you for live bait. Next, we'll go over a little bit about the watercraft inspection report form. So this is what it looks like. When you start out every day going out to the boat landing to start your watercraft inspections, you'll have a fresh one of these. This is also something that can be found to be printed out from the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website. You'll use one per day. You can get to the boat landing, fill out your name, date, the time you get there, water body name, the county, and for landing location, if the landing has a specific name, you can write that down, or just any other location information so that we know exactly what boat landing you were at. The first step on these forms is the boat and the boater you're approaching entering the water or leaving the water for the day? So you'll first check that in, and then you will approach your boater. The first question you'll ask is, have you been contacted by a watercraft inspector this season? And that's just a quick yes or no. And then next you'll move on to, are you willing to answer a few questions? If they say no, that's fine. If they say yes, you can ask them if the boat was used during the past 5 days on any water body. If they say yes, then ask them if they remember which water bodies those were. And if you can also include any other information about that water body, and ask the boater about that. If you can include which county that was in, if it was maybe a water body in a different state. Also, in Dane County, there's numerous mud lakes. So if they say, oh, I was in Mud Lake and it was in Dane County, you can also ask, what town is that by? Just so when we go to fill this data into our database, we know exactly which water body you're talking about. Another important field to fill in is the number of people contacted. This is different than the number of people that are in the boat. Sometimes you'll walk up to boaters and there'll be 5 people in the boat and they'll all be engaged with you and listening and participating in a conversation with you. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes there may be 5 people in that boat, but really only 1 or 2 of them are engaging with you. So that number of people contacted is who's actively engaged with you and listening to you. So if it's just 1 or 2 out of that 5 people, you put 1 or 2 instead of 5. The watercraft inspection form also has those prompts for you on the side. So you remember to inspect, remove, drain, and also the live bait message as well. At the end of the day, you will fill out your end time, and then at the bottom of the form, you can fill in your totals for the day. You can also fill out the comments field if you'd like. And this can be just anything you observe that day at the boat landing that you think is interesting or important. If there was a violation you saw, you can jot down quick notes for that. And it can be anything just to remind yourself as well when you're entering data, if you want to include something. So just a quick synopsis here of that watercraft inspection form. You're going to get to your boat landing, prepare the form, collect your data from boaters, engage the boater in conversation, and at the end of the day, fill in your totals and comments. So why do we collect this data? This data is really important because it helps us to understand boater behaviors in Wisconsin. It helps us understand how boaters are moving around the state, what prevention steps are being most actively used by boaters in Wisconsin, and where boaters get most of their information on aquatic invasive species. And this data can be really useful for lake groups and creating lake planning grants, local ordinance reviews, and where we monitor for AIS in the future. You can also see this data on the Wisconsin DNR website. Right here you can see graphs of statewide data collected since 2004. It's also fun to play around on this web page on the DNR website because you can also view this by county, region, or even specific down to a boat landing. So it's a fun tool to play around with. Next, we'll talk about something I hope no one will have to deal with, but it may happen in the future when you're out at a boat landing, is handling a violation. So let's say you see a trailer like this at a boat landing. That's obviously a violation. This is a little bit of a trick question because it's not actually a violation until somebody comes back to their vehicle, loads their boat up, and drives away from the boat landing with all this aquatic vegetation. But if you do see a violation like this, someone just will not listen to you, drives away from a boat landing with lots of aquatic vegetation or aquatic animals attached to their boat or trailer, we have an aquatic invasive species violation report form. In addition to this violation, if you're safely able to take pictures, we suggest that you try to get a photo of the violation, the boat registration number, and the license plate of the vehicle. Once you have this information, you're going to contact a conservation warden. I do want to stress though, if you don't feel safe approaching the individual, if you don't feel safe taking a photo, we're not requiring you to do that. We want everyone to remain safe. If you ever feel unsafe, don't go forward with the action. It's also important to note that we are just watercraft inspectors. We do not have any ability to ticket anyone. It's all just about writing down as much information as we can and then reporting that to our conservation wardens to follow up. Here's that aquatic invasive species violation report form. This is another item you can find on the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website to print out. And it has spots where you can fill out the boat landing, date, time, information about the boater, their boat, their car, and license plate number. A few additional resources I have for everyone that are not included on the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website are a AIS by county list and a law enforcement contact list. Both these lists are specific to counties in the south central region of Wisconsin. So this AIS by county list is broken down by county and then a few of the more popular water bodies in those counties and what aquatic invasive species those lakes do have. I find this to be a really useful tool when you are engaging with boaters. Sometimes when you ask them which water bodies they've been at in the past 5 days, it'll lead them to ask, well, I was at Clear Lake. Do you know what aquatic invasives are in there? And this can serve as a quick reference for you to look that up for them. Or you may go to the same boat landing quite often and notice a lot of people are saying that they come from O'Leary Lake in Grant County. You can then look that up on your list and see, oh, that has zebra mussels, but the boat landing I'm at right now, this lake does not have zebra mussels. So it's a good thing for you to know, and the next time somebody says, oh, I was at O'Leary Lake yesterday, you can share with them that lake has zebra mussels and the lake they're currently at doesn't, and why that's important for the aquatic invasive species prevention method. The law enforcement contact list, that is going to have all of the DNR conservation wardens' names, numbers, emails, and office locations on there for you. On the back of that sheet, I also have all of the county sheriff office numbers on there as well. And that's just a good reference if you ever see a violation at a landing, if you ever see anything else suspicious going on at a landing that you'd like to take care of, or something happens that you don't feel safe and you'd like to report. I also think, and I recommend to everyone I train, is if you can build a relationship with your local conservation wardens. If they know your name, they know you're out at landings a lot. It's just another person who's got your back when you're out there, and sometimes they'll come and check up on you during the day and help you out. It's just a good relationship to build, I think, for boat inspectors. So another part of our watercraft inspections is the boat landing script, and we'll go over that and a couple scenarios that you might come across when you're out at the boat landings. With the boat landing script, we stress a conversational approach. You can find this script in the Clean Boats, Clean Waters Inspector Handbook as well. We just start out with a friendly greeting, who you are, who you work with, and that you're out here trying to keep harmful invasive species from spreading from lake to lake. You've got a few quick questions for boaters and would like to help them look over their boat for any aquatic plants and animals that may have attached to their boat and boat trailer. Once you introduce yourself, you're gonna ask those boaters those watercraft inspection report questions. Have they been contacted before? Would they like to answer a few questions? And where has their boat been used in the past 5 days? You'll also have that prevention discussion with them, give them the inspect, remove, drain, never move message. And then you'll perform your watercraft inspection. And we like to encourage boaters to walk around the boat with you, talk them through where you're looking for invasive species. And at the end, you can reiterate that inspect, remove, drain, never move message. Provide them with a brochure and a Stop the Spread of Invasive Species sticker, and thank them for their time and cooperation. All right, so we're gonna try out some videos again, and hopefully these work out well, of a few different scenarios you might encounter at the boat landing. So this first scenario is you approach a boater who has been inspected multiple times over the boating season.
Have you been inspected yet this year?
Yeah, so many times, I know. Drain the water, pick the weeds off. I know.
Okay, I'll take it you have been inspected this year then.
Many times. I mean, don't you have anything better to do? They're just weeds.
Well, actually, some of the weeds can actually be aquatic invasive species, and they can cause big problems for our lakes. So since you've been inspected, I'll just make it short. I just want to remind you of the prevention steps that are required by law. So just make sure to inspect your boat, trailer, motor, and the equipment for vegetation or debris or mud. Just make sure to remove that, and then drain all water, not only from your boat but your motor or any containers you have with catch, and don't move live fish. Those are the prevention steps, and thank you for helping us prevent the spread of aquatic invasive
Awesome.
species.
Thanks for being so quick.
Thank you.
All right, so that video is a good example. The inspector in this scenario didn't try to press the boater for time, as he'd been inspected many times before. She kept her message short and concise, but still made sure to cover those 4 prevention steps with the boater. Next, we have a situation where a boat was recently used in a lake with an aquatic invasive species.
Have you used your boat elsewhere in the past week?
Yeah, my brother and I were on Lake Winnebago the other day.
Oh, okay. You know, Lake Winnebago has a few different invasives in it, and the lake here doesn't. So we'll just want to check your boat to make sure there's no plants that came along with you and hitched a ride. A lot of times plants like to get stuck between the trailer and the boat here.
Yeah, we actually made sure to clean our boat off. We took all the weeds off. I really don't want to get a ticket, so we're pretty careful on that.
No, that's excellent. Did you happen to drain the water before you left Lake Winnebago?
Yeah, we did it once we got home.
Okay, well, draining the water is an important step. Wisconsin law does require the water to be drained before you leave the boat landing, though, because invasive species can be transported in water as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. Are you going to ticket me?
Oh, no, I'm just here to share information about invasives with you and help inspect your boat, which, by the way, looks very clean. You've done a wonderful job.
Thank you. I don't want to be the reason we have any invasive species in any other lake, so I will really try to be careful.
Well, thank you for helping protect this lake. I do have a brochure and a sticker to share with you with more information about the prevention steps, so thank you so much for your time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so I think this video and scenario is a really good example of why it's important to conduct surveys and inspections before people launch their boat on the lake, not just when they're returning off the lake, because it's preventing the introduction of a species to that lake. The inspector in this video is also sharing the importance of draining water from your boat and explains that it's Wisconsin law. It also demonstrates a common question you might get out at the boat landings. You might be asked, are you going to ticket me? Are you a warden? Are you here to inspect my catch and make sure I'm sticking to my tag limit? And that's not why we're there. So it's important to let boaters know we're not there to get them in trouble. We're there to just give them the message of how they can help prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species and make sure that they are aware of Wisconsin's law for aquatic invasive species prevention. And one final scenario I have here is for an angler with a water-filled cooler.
Hans, would you mind if I look at your catch today?
Yeah, sure. It's right in there.
Well, it looks like you had some luck. Did you use artificial or live bait?
Oh yeah, always artificial. Live bait's way too much of a hassle.
Well, remember to drain your boat and cooler and live well if you have one. To make sure you have all the water and out of your boat before you leave the ramp.
Well, I drain my boat all the time, but I just leave the water in my cooler and I bring it home, keeps the fish alive, and I live right down the road, so just drain it there.
Yeah, the law reads, it requires you to drain all water from your boat and any container holding your catch, no matter whether you're going straight home or to another lake. Sorry if you're worried about keeping your catch fresh, ice is a good alternative.
So I just gotta drain it here? What are you guys worried about?
Well, what we're worried about is invasive species like zebra mussels, small plant fragments that are easily transported in your water. I know you mentioned you only use this lake, but there are many anglers that jump from lake to lake, water body to water body. I have a pamphlet and a sticker that'll tell you a little more if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any other questions?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you and have a nice day.
All right, thank you.
Hans, here's those pamphlets and sticker I told you about with the
Nice, thank you.
draining the water and keeping your boat clean.
All right, great. Well, I'll take a look at them. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, so I think that's a good video. It shows that some boaters think they are following the law. Like that gentleman there, he was draining water when he got home, but didn't know that it was actually the law. He had to drain it before he left the boat landing. So keep moving here. So that was just a few of the scenario videos you can find on the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website. So hopefully those videos are all pretty clear for everyone. I apologize if they were not. But if you'd like to rewatch those videos or see more scenario videos, you can find those on the website. If you look in your Clean Boats, Clean Waters handbook, there's also some scenarios written up in there for you to look at. So now that we've gone over how to conduct your watercraft inspections, I'm just going to give a quick overview of how you report that data and enter that data into our SWIMS online database. All this information is also in the Clean Boats, Clean Waters handbook. And if you ever have difficulties or need help in the future, you can contact Matt or myself to help get you set up with data entry as well. So the first step of getting set up to enter your Clean Boats, Clean Waters data is to obtain a SWIMS user ID. And you can get this by going to on.wisconsin.gov/WAMS/home, and you're going to click the self-registration option to request a Wisconsin user ID and password. When your user ID and password has been set up in SWIMS, you will be notified, I believe, by email that you're ready to go. Once you have that user ID and password, you can go to the SWIMS database and log in. And when you log in, you will come to a screen and one of the options will be to enter data. And when this comes up, you can click enter data, and then you will get a screen that looks similar to this. So it will have project, and you should already be set up in the appropriate Clean Boats, Clean Waters projects. You can double check that. You should be able to choose yourself as the data collector. For station, you will fill in which boat landing you're at, and then you'll put in your start date, time. Under form, that's a drop-down menu, and you should be able to choose watercraft inspection report form. And then once you choose the form and click next, it should come up with all the fillable fields that are on your totals on your watercraft inspection form, and a place to put comments in as well. All right, so as many of you know, this year things are going to look a little different due to COVID-19. So I'm just going to go over a few of our guidelines this year for watercraft inspectors. I know Matt has also already sent out a little two-sided page document that goes over these guidelines for our boat inspectors as well. So we'll just go over Clean Boats, Clean Waters guidelines to follow the phases of the Wisconsin Badger Bounce Back Plan and the United States Center for Disease Control guidelines for opening up America again. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services and CDC recommends adults age 60 and over and people with underlying health conditions to still be sheltering in place. We want to stress that watercraft inspection is a voluntary activity, and please do not participate this year if you feel at all uncomfortable or unwell. We don't want people to put themselves in an uncomfortable or risky situation. The Department of Health Services and CDC recommends entering phase 1 after a 2-week decline in cases and symptoms, and each successive phase represents a period of reduced risk. As the risk goes down, CDC and the Department of Health Services suggest allowing larger gatherings of people. So for Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspections, these phases mean in phase 1, if you're going to go out, we recommend going to less busy landings where you're going to come into contact with less than 10 people at a time. In phase 2, we're recommending you can go to a little bit more busier landings at busier times of the day, but still less than 50 people. And in phase 3, we're recommending you can open that up to any landing. But it's important to note, we may be in phase 3, but you still may not be comfortable going to more busy landings or any landings at all, and that's okay. This is all based on your feeling of comfort and your safety. We are recommending through phase 1 and 2 that everyone maintains a distance of 6 feet from boaters and their equipment. We will not be handing out any aquatic invasive species brochures, stickers, or other materials, and we recommend that you do not assist boaters with plant or animal removal. If you can't maintain that 6 feet of distance, if the boat landing gets really busy, you recommend that you remove yourself to a safe location where you can observe. And if anything, just let your presence at a boat landing be positive and friendly reminder of aquatic invasive species prevention. This year, we are also going to have cloth masks available for our inspectors. Through phase 1 and 2, we are recommending that you use a cloth face mask. We will be, like I said, providing 2 free face masks per inspector, and you are able to order these for free through the Clean Boats, Clean Waters online store. Also recommending that you wash or sanitize your hand after touching public surfaces, and that inspectors during their time at the boat landing should have access to hand sanitizer. We're also recommending that inspectors do not share their inspection materials. We know that some groups have limited numbers of clipboards, pens, pencils, sometimes even t-shirts and hats, and share those between their volunteers. So this year we're asking that people do not do that sharing of materials. So some alternatives for this year to make things a little more easy when we can't always approach boaters and help them clean off their boats is in the works. So we are working on a Clean Boats, Clean Waters yard sign that you'll be able to order or get a digital file of so that you can then order yourself. And these will share a message that inspectors are taking precautions to help keep boaters safe during this COVID. And we're also, in lieu of being able to hand out our normal brochures and stickers, if boaters have questions and want more information on aquatic invasive species, we are directing them to the Wisconsin DNR's website, and you can suggest some keywords for them to search on that website for more information. So they can search things like watercraft inspection, clean boats, clean waters, aquatic invasive species, and they can search specific, if they have concern about a specific species, they can search that specific species like zebra mussels or Asian clam. The Wisconsin DNR website has individual pages for most of the aquatic invasive species of concern in Wisconsin. Returning inspectors may be familiar with our drain campaign and landing blitz. This year is going to be a little different. So the drain campaign in past years has been conducted over the free fishing weekend for kids, but with concerns about COVID, we're pushing that back, and we're actually merging it with the landing blitz campaign, which generally happens over the week and weekend of July 4th. So instead of 2 separate campaigns this year, it's going to be one campaign from June 28th through July 5th. So the goal of the drain campaign is to remind anglers not to transport any live fish away from water bodies and to drain all water from boats, live wells, and other equipment. And it also emphasizes using ice or ice packs as an alternative to keeping their catch fresh to lake water or river water. The Landing Blitz is a statewide effort to educate as many boaters as possible in one weekend. Many Great Lakes states also participate along with Wisconsin in this campaign. So this year, as we've done in the past, we have some free prompts to hand out to our boaters and anglers over these 2 campaigns. We have ice packs that go along with the drain campaign, and we have towels that go along with the landing blitz. We still have these items ordered this year, but it's going to be a little different with COVID and handing things out while social distancing. So if you are not comfortable with handing things out this year, we can always save them for next year. Or we're encouraging groups and volunteers to think of alternative ways of handing out ice packs and towels that follow social distancing guidelines. People are coming up with things like tables, hanging the towels on clotheslines so boaters can just grab one off themselves. So we're encouraging people to get creative, think of ways we can still include these in our campaigns this year safely. And it's important when you're thinking about these safe ways to hand out our ice packs and towels to also be careful and mindful of how you're handling them before the day too. So if you're picking them up, to make sure you're wearing gloves, masks, protective, things like that. So finally, we'll move on to some steps for an effective watercraft inspection program. It's great for our watercraft inspectors to know their area water bodies and the AIS concerns in that area. It's always a good idea to determine boat landing ownership and make sure that the boat landings you visit have up-to-date AIS signage. So you can see here on the right, that is what should be at every boat landing in Wisconsin. This is the Prevent the Spread of Invasive Species signage. It has those 4 prompts on there: inspect, remove, drain, never move. So if you do come across a boat landing and it doesn't have an aquatic invasive species sign, or for some reason it's really beat up, it's starting to be difficult to read, you can get in contact with Matt or myself, and we can find a way to get a sign out there. We also suggest to maintain effective inspection hours. I recommend that people try to get out to boat landings either in the morning when a lot of boaters and anglers are getting out there to get their fish, or in the later afternoon to evening hours when people are coming off the water for the day. So just think about the hours at your boat landings that it's going to be the most effective. You're going to reach the most boaters. We ask that you wear Clean Boats, Clean Waters t-shirts, hats, or aprons, or have Clean Boats, Clean Waters stickers with you. And work on developing an accurate and concise message. We also recommend to know what education materials are available and who to contact. Most of your education materials can be found on the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website. And if you ever need assistance, you can contact Matt or myself. And you want to keep and report your watercraft inspection records. Report any suspect plants or animals you might see out at a boat landing, and encourage others. Encourage your boaters at the boat landings to follow prevention steps. Encourage others in your community to maybe become a Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspector. And for Clean Boats, Clean Waters resources and gear, these can all be found at this link here. That's the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website. We have resources like the Watercraft Inspection Manual for download, toolkits, DVDs. This is also where you can order your gear like t-shirts, aprons, and hats. And finally, in addition to myself and Matt, you can also contact Erin McFarland. She is the statewide coordinator for Clean Boats, Clean Waters. That's her contact information there. Again, to download materials, you can go to the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website. And for help with data entry in swims, you can contact Matt or myself again, or the swims help team at that email below. All right, and with that, I'm gonna pass it back to Matt.
Thanks, Shelby. Nice job. That was informative. We will be sharing a YouTube link to this presentation too. So if something was too fast for you, or you want to share this with other people, that'll be a resource as well. I'm going to really briefly cover how we're going to sign up our volunteers for slots for the coming season. And I'm hoping that this might also serve as a resource for other people that do this kind of work, so they can see what we're doing. It's a nice streamlined way to do the sign up. So no further ado, here we go. This will be brief, and then we'll let people unmute themselves and go through their questions if they have any. So is this looking all right to you, Shelby? Can you see my screen here?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay. So again, I'm Matt, and I'm happy to answer any questions logistically about this. This is how we're going to do our signups as we are opening up for Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspections for the summer of 2020. We're using a thing called Sign Up Genius, and the link is here. I also just posted the link in the chat box, and I'll be emailing this link out to our volunteers in my follow-up communications, that we're going to have those county sheets and details about how to get the webinar. So step by step, when you click on this link, which you can even try now if you feel like multitasking, it's going to pop up a Sign Up Genius page, and you're going to see our logo on that page. You're going to see our Clean Boats, Clean Waters campaign. You are there. You're going to see then a calendar that's going to have slots that you can sign up for. And you can click on that sign up button, and that will take you to a form that allows you to sign up and submit for that spot. You could actually, what you do is you go ahead and click on a bunch of them, and you can hit submit and sign up. Now, if you want to be a little more elegant, you go ahead and use the calendar view, which is right at the top of that sign up area. That calendar view is going to let you see a more traditional calendar. So you can go and click through the months. Once you click sign up, once again, that sign up is going to take you to the 5 landings that we have at Upper Sugar that we're covering for this season. So you can see Black Hawk Lake, Lake Wisconsin, Yellowstone Lake, and 2 sites on the Mississippi. Each slot has 2 signups, and that's so there's a lot of days out there for the number of volunteers that we have. So we want you to be able to sign up and see where everyone else is already. Basically, if there's not a slot left, that means you can't sign up for it. If you're already out there, and basically, we're going to kind of count teams. So if it's 2 people going out, that's just 1 slot anyway. So the slot kind of counts as basically you and any of your friends that you're going with. So there's still time available for others to come out there. When you click sign up, you're going to have this ability to add comments, and that's where we ask where you go ahead and let us know what time of the day you're planning to be out there at the landing, so we don't have overlap. And if I see overlap, I can let people know that that's happening. But in general, the sign up for days that no one else signed up for, that's going to help it keep simple track of that. And then you will also notice you'll get an email confirmation that you can then add this to your calendar. If you want to click on that, I'll give you a link to add it right to a various kinds of calendars. And in conjunction with the drain campaign, the landing blitz, we are adding extra slots from 6:28 to 7:05. So on those days, we can stack more people into those particular landings if needed. But it might not be required due to the Badger bounce back plan. So we have that option, but for now, we'll just keep it as the Badger bounce back suggests and keep it pretty mellow. And that's about it. So thank you for signing up. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and open it up the floor to any questions you might have. So at this point, if anyone has anything they'd like to put into the chat box, if they can't do any kind of verbal sharing, go ahead. Or you can also go ahead and unmute yourself and ask any questions that come up. And I'm an ongoing resource, so if you have any questions, you can email me. That's my cell phone listed down there below, as we're still practicing an abundance of caution and only using the office when we need to at this point at Upper Sugar. So please don't hesitate to contact me. And at this point, I'm going to stop the recording and see if any other questions pop up. So thank you for your attention, and let's see if anything else comes out of some Q&A.